In the dead of night, when shadows stretch and the world holds its breath, some tales are so dark they blur the line between history and horror. Tonight, we journey back to the mist-shrouded lands of 15th century Wallachia, a region caught between empires, where a prince ruled not just with an iron fist, but with a legacy of pure, unadulterated terror. This is the story of the man who would inspire the greatest vampire legend of all time. This is the story of the real-life Dracula, Vlad the Impaler. His given name was Vlad III, born into the noble house of Dracula. His father, Vlad II, was a member of a prestigious chivalric order, the Order of the Dragon, created to defend Christianity against the encroaching Ottoman Empire. In Romanian, the word for dragon is Drac, and so his father became known as Vlad Dracul, Vlad the Dragon. Consequently, the young prince was called Vlad Dracula, which simply meant son of the dragon. It's a name that, centuries later, would become synonymous with the undead, with creatures of the night. But the man himself needed no supernatural powers to invoke fear. His methods were all too human, and all the more horrifying for it. To understand Vlad's reign of terror, you have to understand the world he was born into. It was a brutal, violent time. As a boy, Vlad and his younger brother were sent as political hostages to the Ottoman court. Imagine, torn from your home, living among your greatest enemies. It was there, under the watch of Sultan Murad II, that he learned the hard, cold lessons of power, politics, and punishment. He witnessed firsthand the Ottoman method of impalement, a gruesome and agonizing form of execution. It was a lesson he would never forget, a tool he would later perfect and make his own terrifying signature. When he finally ascended to the throne of Wallachia, Vlad faced enemies from all sides. The powerful Hungarian kingdom to the north, the ever-expanding Ottoman Empire to the south, and treacherous boyars local noblesky within his own court. He was a man surrounded by wolves, and he decided to become the most ferocious beast in the forest. He knew that to hold his small principality together, to maintain its fragile independence, he needed to project an image of absolute, unwavering, and brutal strength. Fear would be his greatest weapon, and that's how Vlad the Impaler was born. The stories that trickled out of Wallachia were the stuff of nightmares. When Ottoman envoys refused to remove their turbans in his presence, citing religious custom, Vlad reportedly had their turbans nailed to their heads. When a group of German merchants from Transylvania defied his trade laws, he had them all impaled. One of the most infamous tales describes a forest of the impaled. After a decisive victory against an invading Ottoman army, Vlad allegedly had thousands of captured soldiers executed on stakes, creating a grotesque and terrifying landscape of death that stretched 4 miles. The sight was so ghastly that the advancing Sultan Mehmed the Conqueror himself, a man who had conquered Constantinople, was said to have turned back in horror and disgust. But his cruelty wasn't reserved just for foreign enemies. He was equally ruthless with his own people. He despised corruption and disloyalty among the boyars who had betrayed his father and brother. In one legendary account, on Easter Sunday, he invited hundreds of these nobles and their families to a grand feast. After they had eaten and drunk, he asked them how many rulers they had lived under. When they admitted to many, he accused them of being the source of the kingdom's instability. His soldiers then seized them. The older nobles were immediately impaled outside the castle walls. The younger, healthier ones were marched 50 miles to the ruins of an old fortress and forced to rebuild it with their bare hands. Few survived the ordeal. He was said to have tested the honesty of his people by placing a golden cup in the middle of a town square, declaring that anyone could drink from it, but it must not be stolen. During his entire reign, the cup was never touched. So great was the fear of his retribution. Was he a monster, a madman, or a patriot doing what he believed was necessary to protect his homeland? The truth, as it often is likely somewhere in between. To his people, he was a harsh but effective ruler who brought order, punished criminals, and fought bravely against foreign invaders. To his enemies, he was the devil incarnate, a tyrant whose cruelty knew no bounds. So how did this medieval warlord become Count Dracula, the elegant, blood-sucking vampire? That leap was made by the Irish author Bram Stoker in 1897. Stoker never visited Romania, but he was a meticulous researcher. He stumbled upon the name Dracula in a history book and was captivated by its sound and and the brutal stories associated with Vlad the Impaler. He blended this historical figure with Eastern European folklore about vampires, or Strigoi, and created the iconic villain we know today. Vlad himself was no vampire. He didn't drink blood, he didn't turn into a bat, and he certainly wasn't afraid of the sun. But the real man, Vlad the Impaler, son of the dragon, was in many ways more terrifying than any fictional monster, because his atrocities were real. His cruelty was not the stuff of legend, but the grim reality of history. The shadow he cast was so long and so dark, it has haunted our nightmares for over 500 years. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the darkness. If you found this story chilling, don't forget to like, comment with your thoughts, and share it with a friend who loves a good horror story. And of course, hey, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next dive into the terrifying truths behind the world's greatest legends. Stay curious and watch out for the shadows.